There's a book coming out soon. Frankly, We Did Win This Election by Michael Bender. And it is, like all of the books of this variety, giving us a glimpse into something that perhaps we shouldn't glimpse, which is the things that Donald Trump thinks about the world and historical figures. And this one is a doozy. Apparently, on a visit to Europe to mark the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War, Donald Trump insisted to his then Chief of Staff, John Kelly, well, Hitler did a lot of good things. Okay. That reportedly stunned Kelly. I don't know why, as is being reported in this book by the Wall Street Journal. So it's these early looks into what's gonna be in the book. So Bender reports that Trump made the remark during an impromptu history lesson in which Kelly, quote, reminded the president which countries were on which side during the conflict and connected the dots from the First World War to the Second World War and all of Hitler's atrocities. So Donald Trump, who, let's just be clear, doesn't know about any of this, is told, here's what happened in World War I, here's what led to World War II, the development of the Nazi Party and all of that as being one of those things, and then you get all these atrocities. And Trump, the part he wanted to focus on was, hey, why are you only saying the bad stuff about Hitler? He did a lot of good things. So we're gonna have more from this, Francesca, but that's a take. He's playing devil's advocate. He's a contrarian. Aren't those great things?
He's a Nazi. Trump is a Nazi. Stop it, you guys. He's a white supremacist Nazi. We know that. The chat rooms, the 4chans, the 32 chans are gonna be freaking out about this news. Super excited. David Duke's gonna be super excited. From the moment that he did not denounce David Duke for endorsing him and pretended like he didn't know who he was, we have known Trump is a Nazi. His ex-wife said he used to keep a copy of Mein Kampf on the table. He said there were very fine people on both sides of a fascist rally and an anti-fascist rally. Guys, he is a Nazi. This is, and it's like, yeah, now we know. I mean, we've known. How long have we known? But now we truly know. And the idea that he's whatabouting World War II and Hitlerism and Nazism is just like, unless, in what world? Like, is it like, gee, they were really good at synchronizing their hand salutes. Look at the way they goose step in unison. I do wanna know.
You wanna know the negative? I'll give you the negative in 1 second. But before I get to the second negative, I do wanna point out though, there is one definite villain here. Well, there's two definite villains. So one definite villain, let's be clear about this, is Hitler. He's just a bad guy. You don't need to give it to him. The second one is Trump. The third one maybe though is, so how long did you know about this?
Yeah.
Michael Bender, author of Frankly, We Did Win This Election. Did you know that Trump was praising Hitler before the election? Because that would have been useful. He said this 2 years before the election. Could we have maybe found out about it? Now I say this is a maybe because I don't know. Maybe Kelly told Bender 3 weeks ago. I have no idea.
No.
But maybe you could point this stuff out when it happens. Not that it would matter because this is America, nobody cares. He could literally just goose step up and down a rally platform and he'd have Tucker Carlson running interference for him. But you could have mentioned this, buddy. Anyway, I know you want to sell a book, but I want to stop fascism. So competing concerns. That said, here's more of what happened. Bender says unnamed sources reported that Kelly, quote, told the president that he was wrong, but Trump was undeterred, emphasizing German economic recovery under Hitler during the 1930s. So that was apparently the good things that he did. So just to be clear, Donald Trump, who thinks that we're too harsh on the Nazis, says that, okay, so maybe you demonize some groups, increase domestic xenophobia, get people into the whole fascism thing, get them to run through the streets, beating and killing people, ransacking buildings and all that. But if that's what it takes to recover the economy, maybe it's worth it. That's probably just a thing that he thinks about Germany in the 1930s. It's probably not a thing that we need to worry about, Francesca.
No, and by the way, for the record, your economy was trash, bro. Okay, you didn't do this. Your head wound Hitler. I've said it before. You'll never be him. And he's in hell. Just like, how dare people compare me to that guy to me? All right. No, here's the thing about all this is like, even if historians looking at World War II, historians looking at the rise of the Third Reich and Nazi Germany, they mostly couch it. The way to couch it is that World War I devastated Germany. It was unnecessarily punitive and potentially created a condition that was economically ripe for a fascist to come into power. Much like in the way you might say that 2+ failed wars in the Middle East, bringing back, loads of soldiers with PTSD, decimating our economy, having our infrastructure start to crumble, our healthcare system go into disarray or sort of not be fixed. That some of that stuff also led to our own head wound Hitler coming into power in 2016. Also a terrible candidacy from Hillary Clinton, but
that too.
That is the way that it is discussed. It's not discussed like, well, he was good actually. Why don't we talk about the good things?
Well, look, to be fair, we have to allow him to respond. Liz Harrington, spokesperson for Trump, says that the conversation being reported is totally false. President Trump never said this. It is made up fake news, probably by a general who was incompetent and was fired. I feel like that was a statement that she did get a little bit from Trump, or she just understands him really well. So he's another one of those people that Trump brought on that was so incompetent that he had to be fired. Trump just had tons of those for some reason in a way that does not in any way reflect negatively on him. So that makes it made up fake news. Okay, and maybe the Washington Post journalists are just making it up based on one source or whatever, kind of doubt it, but maybe. I do want to remind people of a similar bit of history though that did happen. Remember, and this was in 2018 when he was supposed to go to an American cemetery near Paris. I think it was the same trip. So he was reported as he blamed rain for not going to the cemetery, saying that the helicopter couldn't fly and the Secret Service wouldn't drive him there, even though other world leaders who were in Paris at the time did drive to it. So that turned out not to be true. He apparently, according to 4 sources, didn't want to go because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain, and because he didn't believe it was important to honor American war dead. In fact, he thought it was kind of important to dishonor them because he said, quote, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." He said the 18 Marines who lost their lives at a recent battlefield were suckers for getting killed. Now, all of this is not a direct quote. These are multiple sources saying he said that. And the same trip where he apparently said, you kind of got to give it to this Hitler guy. So maybe all of these sources are making up everything. Maybe that's possible, or maybe it's consistent with virtually everything else we know about him, up to and including his bedtime reading material.
Every single news outlet needs to ask Republicans about this. What do they believe? Do they think that Trump was right and that Hitler had good qualities? Put the microphone in their face and have them answer it, okay? Because this party has been greasing the wheels of like a new neo-Nazism, and they continue to do it. Continue to do it. There were people in the Capitol riots wearing Holocaust denial shirts, right? How much more to me? Every single day. I don't want to hear jack about bipartisanship. I don't want to hear jack about a policy. I don't want to hear anything about your little gang of whomever. No, you ask them about this. You ask them whether or not they condone and support Trump's comments on Nazism, whether they condone and support all of the people who love him and by association love what the Republican Party's become.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.